Hey guys, it's me, it's Queen Oseharu, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask An Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Papa Bear asked me, I always call him Papa Bear. He's one of our subscribers, and he looks like a bear to me. He reminds me of the bear from the Three Bears, and I always call him Papa Bear. So that's what I'm talking about. Um, so Papa Bear asked me a question, and I'm often asked these types of questions. People always ask me questions about different current events. And most of them I really don't speak on because I just either don't know about the topic or I really don't care. But this one I know a lot about intimately. So I wanted to speak on it. He asked me what did I think about the situation with Kevin Hart. And for any of you who don't know, Kevin Hart is a comedian who is often in trouble. He's from Philadelphia and he's a Cancer. So, two reasons why I know who he is. And he's funny. I like him. He's funny. And recently he got in trouble because he was going to host the Oscars, and some homophobic tweets that he did about 10 years ago surfaced. And the Oscars board asked him to apologize for the tweets, and he refused and stepped down from being the host of the Oscars. And when asked why did he do this, he said because he already apologized. He already addressed this many, many moons ago. Now, I had not heard of this when it first happened. I didn't hear of this at all. This is my first time hearing of it. So people always ask me like how I feel about these kind of things because everybody knows I'm part of the gay community and I'm part of the black community and I'm part of the female community and I'm part of the pagan community. I'm a part of a lot of communities. So when things happen, people often will ask you, what do you think? And, it is very difficult to be a part of all these communities, especially the black and the gay community, because in the gay community, you're constantly dealing with racism. There's a lot of racism in the gay community. And then in the black community, there's a lot of homophobia. So lucky me. I get to be dead smack in the middle of both. So what I want to say is this. I'm not mad at Kevin about his comments. Comments that he made to me, I'm not mad or offended by his comments as a gay person. What I'm more so is disturbed because these comments were made about his son. He said something about if my son was gay, I would either kill him or kill myself or something like that. He would kill somebody. Somebody gotta die. Bottom line, somebody gotta die. And the reason why it bothered me was because that's not funny. Comedians make jokes. Sometimes their jokes aren't funny. This joke is not funny. And that was my main concern with it because I know kids intimately. I've held a young girl in my arms who threw herself down the steps because her parents threw her out for being gay. I used to run a support group for gay teens when I was a high school teacher. I've dealt with hundreds of gay teens, and I've helped them and talked to them and counseled them and took them to programs and all kinds of stuff. And I see what happens to these kids when their parents decide to throw them out or treat them like trash because they're gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, whatever. I've seen this, and it's not funny. So for him to say, oh, it was a joke, my bad, I'm like, well, first of all, it wasn't funny. The reality of that is not funny. I've seen young girls have to sell their ass to have some place to sleep because their mother or father couldn't accept that they were bisexual. So it's definitely not the fuck funny, number one. So that was my first problem is I'm like, I hope his son ain't gay. That was my first thought, like shit, because I know how that goes down. Secondly, the black community, like I said, is homophobic. And every community has a community they don't care for. And most of them have a biblical reason why. The black community will always talk about how, homosexuality is a sin and this, that, and the third. And then the racists who are, always talking about the people of color will say exactly the same argument. Oh, in the Bible, it says that people of color are damned. And so we can hate them. Everybody always thinks it's okay to hate another group. And I call bullshit on hatred, period. I don't care why you hate somebody, because number one, if you look at the Bible, because I've read the Bible backwards and forwards, I was raised Catholic. So I know the Bible, and I've studied all other religions, not all, but many other religions over the years. And one of the things in it is that even if you think homosexuality is a sin, even if you think that being black is a curse, it still tells you to be compassionate to other people. It still tells you not to judge other people. It still tells you to treat people with respect, regardless if you agree with their creed, their sin, or their lifestyle, or whatever you want to call it. So saying it's okay for me to treat this group this way because it's in the Bible, or it's okay for me to hate black people because it's in the Bible, is bullshit. Because even the Bible says, even if that's the case, treat everybody with love. The Bible said the same thing, and think about the case of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was never cruel to somebody he saw as a sinner, or somebody who was a Jew or who was outside of the Christian, because Jesus was a Jew. So anybody who was outside of that particular spiritual system, he didn't treat people differently because of their affiliations or because of those kind of things. When he met a prostitute on the road, he treated her with the same respect that he would treat anybody else. So the biblical argument is bullshit. Bottom line, Jesus wouldn't have even done that. So that's the first problem I have with it, is that, as a community, we need to come away from this hatred of all kinds. And that's one that people always think is okay. Oh, it's okay to hate gay people. It's okay to hate dykes. It's okay to hate faggots. It's okay to do that. And I'm saying it's not. Just as wrong as it is for a racist or a Klan member to hate you and try to hang you from a tree, is just as wrong. Hate is wrong, period. You should not have hatred in your heart for anything or anyone. You can dislike things that people do. You can not agree with it. You can debate it if you want to. But to walk around, with this mountain of hate on your back is never right about anything. So that's my issue with, Kevin's statements. I take issue with them for those reasons. But I ain't mad at him. I'm not mad at him for this one reason. Kevin apologized. Kevin came out when this came out 10 years ago. I think the tweets happened 10 years ago, and that they came out at some point in time. I missed all of this. But whenever they came out, Kevin apologized already. He already apologized. So I don't feel like there's a need to apologize again. If he apologized, he apologized. You forgive him or you don't, and you move on. But I want to say, my one issue with him not apologizing and stepping down is I wouldn't have did that. Seriously. You're not going to mess with my paper. You call me to host the Oscars and all I got to do is apologize? I'm going to get my check. Straight up. Because even though people are saying, well, they were picking on him, he already apologized, he could have came and said just that. He could have done a video or did a interview and said, I know some people weren't aware that this happened, because I damn sure I didn't even hear about it. So he could have said, I know some people aren't aware that this happened, but there was some tweets that I made that were perceived as, and were quite frankly disgusting and homophobic. And I came out years ago and already apologized for these tweets. But some people did not hear my apology, or some people did not know about it. And I'm hosting the Oscars this year. And I want people to know that I am not homophobic. And I do support the gay community. And I've been on Ellen. I've done this, I've done that. And I know, I have been a friend, an ally to the gay community. And at the time that I made those statements, I wasn't, like he said, I've grown. And I was like, you know what? That's very true. Because if I think back to who I was in college or who I was as a teenager, I'm sure I've made comments that weren't appropriate. We all have made comments about things that was not appropriate, that if somebody had recorded them, could throw them back in our face 10, 15, 20 years later. And he said, I've grown. So I'm willing to accept that, because I look at myself and how I've grown. Look how much I think about how much I've grown in just the past year. But, 31-year-old me, 21-year-old me, they're 41-year-old me, they're not the same. So if you have aged an entire decade and haven't grown up some, come on. So I give him that. I give him that he probably has evolved. I've watched him evolve as an actor. So I can say I've seen growth in him in that area. So why not in other areas? So yeah, I'll give him all that. And I don't hold a grudge. And I am accepting of his first apology. But I would not have allowed that to mess up my paper. I would not have allowed that to take that opportunity from me either. I just would have came up, said what I had to say, and kept it moving. Because all he had to do was say that. When he refused to apologize and then went into this, this kind of like indignant kind of attitude about it, to me, is cool. You can stand on principle. Because that's what it felt like to me, like he was standing on the principle of, I've already apologized and now I'm being picked on. That's what I got from his vibration. But I don't feel like that he had to respond that way to it. He could have just said, I've already responded to this, but in case somebody didn't hear or didn't understand, this is that. And moved on with his life and cashed his check. So that's me. I'm Aquarius. I'm looking at logic here. So he's a Cancer emotion, So I'm guessing that his emotion, how he felt about it, is what he was responding to. And that's just not what I would have done. I would have cashed my check. I would have made sure I hosted them Oscars. I would have had on the best suit I could have, money could buy, and I would have handled my business. I would have did what I had to do, and I would have came back the next year and did it again. But that's me. If Kevin felt as though that's what he had to do, that's what he had to do. But I wanted to tell you that that's how I feel about the situation. I'm not really angry with him. I'm not going to boycott him or none of that kind of thing. I do accept his apology. I do see the growth in him. I know people can change. I know people can grow because I did. So I have to give that mercy and that compassion to another person. It's only fair. But this attitude of hatred that runs rampant through different communities towards different people is not cool, and it needs to stop. It really needs to stop. And like I said before, hearing him say that and having seen kids go through that, even if it was a joke, Kevin, it wasn't funny. All right, guys, it's time for me to get going. So if you would like to have a reading with me, underneath here is my email address. Please email me. If you would like to donate to our channel so we can get better equipment, please donate. If you would like to ask me a free general question, please email me and I will be happy to answer it. Some people have emailed me, and most of you guys have gotten a response from me, or I've already done a video. But there are a few, like 4, who sent me long letters that I'm still working on and concising the information and figuring out how to put that into a 10-minute video. So if you sent me a letter and you haven't gotten a response yet, or you haven't seen the video yet, I'm just still working on it. And it will, as soon as I'm done, you will see it uploaded. Okay? All right. If anybody can benefit from my videos, please pass them on. See you later.